Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in. This is the Business Trap. This is Carlos David.
This is Carlos M, and we are here to give you a wealth of value. We want to talk about expanding your mindset and just making things happen.
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about the top skills that you need in 2022. So let's start with the first one.
2022. All right. In my opinion, the most important skills that we all need in 2022 is relationship building.
Okay, so how do we build that skill?
Relationship building, it's really important, and one of the main ways that you build that skill is through speaking, communicating effectively, just talking, listening to people, and expressing yourself. That's one of the main things that you have to do in order to build relationships.
Okay, I think I agree with you with the, I definitely agree with you with the relationship building. Can you give us 3 actionable things that the audience could do to start creating this skill?
Yeah, absolutely. One of those is giving values to people, right? So when you have a conversation with somebody, you want to see if there's a way that you could help them out. Like a conversation usually start, or somewhere along the conversation, somebody usually has a conflict that they want to share with you, and sometimes they share it with you because they know that you might have some experience or that you went through that. Don't hold back. Give that person advice. Provide a path to improve themselves, right? And that will start building that relationship. The other thing that you could do is, schedule time to be with people. You actually have to plan to, okay, Wednesday at 3 o'clock, I'm going to go to see John. And I'm going to have a coffee with John. You have to plan it. And you have to call John, like, hey, John, at 3, does that work for you? If it doesn't work for John at 3, then figure out another time. But you have to plan to spend time with a person in order to build a relationship.
Okay.
And then finally, follow up. Follow up. Always call John a couple days later and say, hey, John, remember that discussion that we had? Were any of my advice able to help you out? Did you discover anything new that maybe I should apply next time I face the same issue? So those are 3 things that you could do to build stronger relationships, to build those relationships with people, because they're extremely important, especially in 2022.
Sounds great. I want to add one more.
Yeah, of course.
I want to add just building rapport with your with whoever you're trying to build this relationship to. And rapport is just finding out what they like and what they enjoy, and finding those things that you have in common.
Correct.
Right? Because I think that is going to help you have a long-term and a strong relationship.
Yeah, for example, I have a lot of friends that I ride mountain bikes, so I have a lot of friends that we have that in common, and when we get together, we're often talking about that, right? But I have other friends that are in banking, and when we get together, we often talk about banking. So it's important to build that rapport and not just bring your own agenda, but have a consensus of what you guys have in common and stick to those points.
Awesome. So what is skill number 2?
Skill number 2 is what we're doing right now. It's content creation. It's putting yourself in front of a camera, putting yourself in front of social media, and just sharing your knowledge and providing people value.
Awesome. So providing skills, providing content. How does someone build this skill? I know there's many people out there that they're afraid either just to speak or to be in front of the camera, and maybe they tried it, they're not afraid, but then they make mistakes, it just doesn't come out.
And I'll tell you why that happens.
Why?
That's because they're talking about things that they're not an expert in.
Okay.
I elaborate. For example, if you that are a manager and you've been managing for 12 years or more, and you want to give people advice about how to become effective managers, I guarantee that you're not going to run out of content, that you're not going to stumble on your words. You don't need to go do some research to talk about it because you're living this, right? But if you're going to talk about, I was like cooking, but about hair, right? About hair beauty and how to condition your hair, and you're going to suck. I'm sorry.
Hey, I have some skills when it comes to hair.
You might have those skills, but it's about you're not an expert. Yeah. And that's what I'm getting at. You have to be an expert.
You cannot go deep into the context.
And the other thing, because you could be an expert in an area and still not captivate the audience. You need to provide the audience a way to make what you're saying easier. Give them hacks. That's what people want. They want to listen to you. Give them shortcuts to getting to the same results, because they don't want to wait 12 years to do what you're telling them to do. So you need to be like, okay, it took me 12 years to learn this. This is how you apply it, and this is how you make it work right now.
All right. So I have make sure that you're an expert in what you're speaking about, yes. And I have provide people value by giving them like shortcuts and hacks.
But there's one more though with content creation. None of this is going to happen unless you put yourself in a vulnerable position where you actually talk about maybe some yourself and some of the things that you prefer not to talk about. Like, you got to put yourself vulnerable so the audience could say, because if you just come here and you were like, oh no, I'm an expert in everything, I'm the best, you have to talk about your pitfalls. Where have you failed and what you have done to get out of there. This is the business trap, and this is in essence what we do, right? Like, we give people advice on things that we have not done great. So make sure that you put yourself out there and make sure that you're vulnerable, comfortable being vulnerable, telling people this is where I failed and this is what you do to make it better.
All right, awesome. So number 2 is content creation. What is the number 3 skills that people need to develop in 2022?
Number 3 skill is time management. Time management is amazing and is one of the main things and main reasons why some people are successful, and one of the main reasons why some people are just not successful, because they don't know how to manage these 24 hours we have in one day. So many people do different things with the same amount of time. We all have 24 hours, guys. So depending on what you do with those 24 hours will dictate your level of success and how happy you are and where you're going.
All right, so what are some actionable items that people can do? Because I know time management, many people find that very challenging. Why do you think that is so challenging for many people?
It's attention. It's attention. Everybody's craving for your attention. You want to be a Mr. Nice Guy and give your attention to whoever calls you. People are afraid of saying no. People are afraid of saying, I don't have time now, but let's schedule something later on, right? I have this thing, and it's crazy, because if you think about it, with time, right? You go to work, your employer pays you 40 hours every week. They pay you some people they pay less, some people they pay more. That depending on the value that you give the company. That's a whole different conversation. That's a whole different business trap, right? But basically, if you have an employer paying you for your time, you have to value your time at that level or a lot more. Don't devalue your time by going out there and giving your time for free to either social media platforms, TV shows, or anything like that for less than what you're getting paid for. So let's say that you spend 3 hours watching a show and your value is $20 an hour, right? That's $60 that you could have had, that you just threw it in the garbage. So not garbage, because that's entertainment, right? And we all need it for our mental sanity.
I was gonna say that many people are gonna go like, hey, I work 40 hours, I work real hard, I'm tired, I want to relax.
But they don't understand that those 3 hours are costing them $60. So what's the balance, right? What's the balance? I guess just make sure that whatever you're doing is adding value to your life, is adding value to your overall being.
Okay. So what would you say are some actionable things people can do to manage their time better, to be more effective?
Google Calendar. Number 1. If it's not in the calendar, it's not happening. My wife knows this. My team at work knows this. Everybody that I communicate with knows that. If it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen. So don't call me. My mother knows this. My mother, sometimes, I love my mom, calls me and be like, hey, I need you to come over. I'm like, I have a meeting at this time, and then after that, I plan to go with my kids to the zoo or whatever, and then after that, I'm going to go out with my wife, and then, oh, you're always busy. I'm like, no, Mom, I would love to spend time with you. Let's plan it. Tell me tomorrow you're going to cook. I put it in my schedule. I go over. We have a great time. I know some people might say, oh, that's like a weird way of living, but the other way around is you just sitting down waiting for things to happen, so you have no control of your 24 hours, which is one of the main reasons why some people are not successful.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Some people are gonna say, hey, but when you're gonna live like a slave when you're like, you have everything planned.
And I think the opposite.
What you said make perfect sense, because you're gonna get more things done. You're actually gonna enjoy life more because you're able to do more things.
Have you ever been somewhere and you feel like you like where you're at, the environment is great, but you feel like this anxiety inside, like that you're good, but you should be doing something else?
Yeah.
That's because you probably should be doing something else, and you're actually doing something that you didn't plan. So when you actually plan to do things, and that's the time that you have for that, you're not worried about doing something else. So your level of anxiety goes down. So one of the main things that time management help is level of anxiety.
All right, so let's go to number 2. What is the number 2 actionable item that people can do?
Number 2, I would say, is communicating, right? Again, communicating with everyone that this is how you plan your day, so that especially your loved ones and the people close to you, so that they could get on the same page as you. Because a lot of people fail at keeping a calendar because people don't collaborate with them. But if you tell them, like, listen, I really need this for my mental sanity, this is going to help, I'm trying this out, please cooperate with me, let me know, I'd love to do things for everyone, just let me know ahead of time so I can plan myself accordingly. So just communicating with others what your expectations are.
Awesome. And do you have a number 3?
Can you help me out?
Number 3 for time management. I don't know, let's think about this. If you guys have a number 3, please comment below. I'm going to go through and give you guys a quick recap. So building relationships, we went over providing value for whoever you're building this relationship with. The next one is spend or plan to spend time with that person. And number 3 is follow up, right? Have a follow up time schedule where you're going to follow up with that person. And number 2 skill was content creation. So building content, the number 1 thing you need to do is become an expert or talk about things in which you're an expert
already
at.
on, yeah.
Number 2 is give value by providing shortcuts and hacks, so that way people can be interested in what you're providing. And number 3 is be vulnerable, tell your story, tell your pitfalls, tell your failures. Number 3, time management. I think this is we elaborated a lot in this one, even though we don't have 3 points. We have 2. Number 1, use your calendar. Number 2, communicate your expectations with those around you.
Yes.
And I think, you know, this sums it up. If you guys have any other skills that you think they're relevant for 2022, that you think they're important to be successful, please comment down below. Let us know. We'll be happy to. I mean, we're eager to know if you have anything else.
This is the business trap, guys. Whenever you want to start a business, whenever you want to become more knowledgeable about business, please look at all the videos that we have done. This is meant for those of you who are in business or want to be in business, to educate yourself, learn from other of us that are doing this already. That way you could avoid some of those traps that could hold you back.
I'll see you in the next one.